Mediabyte Podcast Network.
Jason, Mother is talking to you.
I want to play a game.
Don't fall asleep.
Just been informed that zombies have entered the building.
You opened it. We came.
The unburied dead are coming back to life.
Hello everybody and welcome to the first kind of requel, if you would like to call it that, of the Slash It podcast. So today what actually we're going to be doing is kind of going over some of the things that I've done in the last, since you guys have seen me, basically, and where I'm at in my life. And then for people who are completely brand new, we're going to be going through some of my favorite horror movies, kind of what the point of the podcast is, what you can expect from the podcast, and everything like that. So first, we're going to be talking about some of my favorite horror movies. First, I'd have to say Halloween. It's probably one of my favorites. It's a big inspiration for me with some things we'll be talking about in a minute. The other things, side of the things that I find incredible, some of my favorite things, favorite horror movies specifically is The Shining. I love The Shining. I love Hell House. I love Blair Witch Project. That's for almost, it's unfair to even include that because I live very close to Requel, where the movie is shot. But yeah, that's just some of them. I love a lot of different horror movies. I love, too many to count. I love like schlocky kind of B-rated horror movies. I like Drive-In Massacre. I like Sleepaway Camp. I like Reanimator. I like Return of the Living Dead. I like a lot of those kind of movies, and that's, you will see kind of movies that I like as we move on. So that's just kind of a little bit of what I like. I like a lot of movies, and you can follow my Letterboxd if you'd like to do that. Jared Poyner, JaredPoyner, that's my name, and you can find everywhere that I actually, do things and post what movies I'm watching and when I'm watching them. I'm a big movie guy, so you'll see a lot of different types of movies, not just horror movies on that account. But yeah, so that is some of my favorite horror movies. I want to jump in really quick to kind of talking to you about the point of this podcast, what it actually is, and what I will be doing here. So first off, basically, when I watch a horror movie, I will be talking about it here, kind of free-flowing. This is the point of the podcast. It's always been this way. I was someone who for a very long time, and still kind of am now, don't have somebody who can talk about horror movies with me and the way that I understand them and the way that I can talk about horror movies, just with the pure passion for it. I never had that when I was a kid. I'm 22 now, by the way. I started this when I was 16 or 17. Just for you guys, so you know. And so if I see, let's use Sleepaway Camp as an example. If I'm watching Sleepaway Camp, you guys like, you might like Sleepaway Camp too, but you want somebody who can talk to you, and you wish you had somebody to talk to. I want to be that person that can talk to you about it. I know it's one way, but this sounds like a one-on-one conversation. That is what this is to me, and that's what's important about this to me. Is that it feels and sounds, and you feel like it's a one-person kind of conversation, and that is really important to me. And I hope that for everybody out there who may feel like they're kind of alone with their passion for horror movies, I hope that you don't feel like that way anymore after we, have this kind of conversation about whatever it is that we're talking about. So that is kind of that's kind of the point of the podcast. It's why I started the podcast way back then, and I have now. But if you've been a fan of me for a long time, you do know I did a YouTube channel for a long time. I don't think I'm going to be doing very many YouTube videos on that channel, just because I'm kind of moved into something else called the Mediabyte. It's Mediabyte channel. It's Mediabyte, Mediabyte Co. and everything. That is kind of me more. That's more movies in general, horror movies included in that, and then Slash It is a part of the podcast network that I do. I have a bunch. Diary of an Indie Filmmaker is what I'm doing right now, which we'll touch on my movies in a minute. And then Slash It podcast, the one you're listening to now, and then the Mediabyte podcast. So those are the kind of three big podcasts right now. And then we also do one called Exploring Cinema that is kind of figuring out its legs in the moment. So yeah, that's kind of what that is. So let's talk about me and my future and what I want to do as a career, which I'm sure many of you may have already figured that out. I want to be a director writer. I am a director. I have written, directed 3, 4, 5 short films now at this point. It's not a lot, but I'm learning. I have a lot of ideas. A lot of scripts are written. I've written 2, 3 full length scripts now at this point, which is really cool. I'm trying to think. I think one idea I had was a horror, but I never finished that script. The other 3 are kind of dramas or sci-fi and like that. But at this point, I've written 2 novels. One is a horror, one is a sci-fi horror, you could call it. It's a little different than that, really, but it would fit under that if you wanted to call it that. Yeah, so basically, I've done a lot. And so I just want you guys to know that my focus is on my films and my movies and when I shoot them. So what I'm trying to do is come up with certain days to do certain things so I can kind of keep everything going, but also in the same moment, giving myself time to write and direct all the films that I make. Because that is what I want to do as a career and as a passion. So we'll talk about, futures, expectations for this podcast when it's coming out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But mainly I wanted to talk about just, what you can expect, other things you can expect from this podcast. So if you've been a fan, like I mentioned earlier, if you've been a fan of this podcast for a while, you would know the history of zombies, I believe is what it was called. That was a 2-part history of the genre for zombies. And I liked doing those. Those take a long time to make because I tried to make all my information as good as possible. So if that is something that does interest you, I may go back and do some other ideas I've had. I've had one for the history of the slasher subgenre, which I think I might do at some point. And those will be it's everything is written down exactly word for word, and it's an oral history of the zombie subgenre is what it was. So if you have not actually listened to those, go listen to those. You'd probably like them. I liked making them, and I think you might like them too. I enjoyed them for what they were outside of the fact that I created it, so you might as well. What else? So some other things that I've done some interviews with Kieran Reed, director of All You Can Eat, which is an incredible short film if you've never seen it. You should absolutely listen to the interview and then go check out the short film and anything else that he is up to in the moment. It's a little different than most interviews because of the time difference between him and me, but it is still an interview, and yeah. So, what else can you talk about? Well, interviews like that, talk about people about horror movies. So, guests are allowed. Guests can come on. So you might see some guest podcasts, episodes. I know a few people who might eventually be on talking about their favorite horror movies and, just chilling and talking. So if that is something that interests you and you guys want to, you want to be on an episode, please hit me up. On my Instagram is probably where I'll see it the most. Jared Poyner, JaredPoynerr. That is where you can find me. And probably if you want to be a person, like a guest on this, go ahead and you can hit me up there. And I'll probably, we'll see what happens at that point. No guarantees, but we'll see. Yeah, so anybody, I'm down to talk about any horror movie, anything like that. And yeah, so interviews with people. I'm hoping to get some, short film directors on, people who've made horror movies in the past, what that experience was like, and just talk about horror movies in general. And so here's another thing I want you guys to just be aware of. Again, like I mentioned, how often can you expect these episodes? I wouldn't expect them weekly. My goal right now is once every 2 weeks. We'll just see what happens with that as we move forward, and how time works when it comes to that. We'll just see if the routine sticks. But and that's what I'm hoping. So at least I'll have one once a month, but I'm shooting for once every 2 weeks, just as we move forward. So I'm hoping to get it once every 2 weeks, but that might not work as it plans. So this is a little shorter episode. than most episodes will be. Most episodes will be probably roughly in the 30-minute range. This is just kind of a short little intro. Welcome back to Slash It, and welcome to everything that Slash It has to offer. And I hope that you guys, take solace in me if you feel lonely and you don't feel like you have those friends that you can talk about horror movies with. That is me, and I'd like to be that person. And because I love horror movies. It's one of my favorite genres of film. And I'm actually in the process right now of shooting a horror comedy. But you will find out more about that as it comes out. So if you want to follow the MediaByte Podcast Network and all that stuff, it's MediaByte Co. Instagram. My Instagram personally is Jared Pointer, JaredPoynerr. I also do all my podcast stuff there, so check out that for all the links to all the podcast stuff. If you would like, you can follow my Letterboxd. It's also Jared Pointer, JaredPoyner. If you want, ideas for what the future episodes might be, you can follow that as well. So thank you all for listening, watching, subscribing, and everything else. So for the first time in a while, and definitely not the last time for a while, treat every day like it's Halloween. For more podcasts like this, please make sure to listen to all the podcasts on the MediaByte Podcast Network.